Week one's over. Are we victory lapping? Are we panicking? Time to find out. Yo, what's up, everybody? We are a mere one game away from wrapping up week one. I'm freaking out. I've cried. I've laughed. It's almost over here. Brendan, how we doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Always love betting against the Colts week one, and it always pings out. So it was really sad to see all that money in my account.
And the worst part of it was they actually got my hopes up. I thought we were going to get the win, but we came up short. Nothing but tears here. But yes, we will be breaking down what we had to think of our top 8 things that came from out of week one. Lots to go over here. Tons of, whether it be injuries, snap counts, things that made us laugh, things that made us cry, things that just made me pull my hair out. So I got a nice bald spot in the back now here, folks. It's really looking pretty. We ready to kick this bitch off?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. This is the best picture I could find. This is what we have to go with are they washed? Here at Too Much Fantasy Football, we don't like to be negative. We like to bring up the positives. We're going to get this out of the way, knock it out quickly. Daniel Jones, Bryce Young, Watson. Who was the worst?
Oh, man. I mean, if I had Deshaun Watson missed wide open people. It was bad. If I had to rank the 3, I would go Deshaun, Bryce, and Daniel Jones. I think that's how I'd rank it, but they're all bad. I think Carolina Panther fans are purely panicking right now because they brought in a new head coach who's fixed a lot of really bad quarterback situations, and there's a difference, right? When we watch players like Anthony Richardson and C.J. Stroud were taking that draft. Anthony Richardson's a project player, but C.J. Stroud clearly had 70% clips rate and completions. Bryce Young's whole thing was he's smart. Well, doesn't really well in the NFL. Clearly, he needs some balls there, and it's just not clicking.
Yeah, that's the hard part with all of this. I was so into Deontay Johnson, and it's just it's unfolding right before my eyes. I'm like, oh my God, maybe we don't need the whole season to find out what we have here. Maybe we're going to find out soon. Andy Dalton, we can't be backing him out, can we?
If it's bad by week 8, I think they might just say hey, it's a bad pick. But hey, Deontay Johnson, 33% target share. So there's something
if you
there.
Took the over in his targets, you got that for sure. The Browns, it's looking ugly. Unfortunately, whether it's going to be cheaper for them to keep him for the next 3 years, but they can't cut him. They absolutely cannot cut him from a financial standpoint. I don't think they'd ever get under the cap.
Down the road this season. They literally just flex his contract situation for the season so they can open some cap space. So yeah, they kick the can down the road. There's some things I kind of want to say for this game. It was bad, but supposedly, Deshaun Watson lost his dad on Friday, so I really don't know if an emotional standpoint there's something to affect with it. I will have some sort of sheer hardness towards that, but it was just bad all around. And the Daniel Jones, Brian Dable had to come out today and say yes, he's our starter for week 2. You're already off to a really good start if you have to come out and say that your starter is going to start next week.
Luckily for the Giants, though, they can get out of Daniel Jones' contract after this year. Everybody kind of looks at it that way. So if they pull him at some point, I wouldn't be surprised. In a dynasty format, I've got Drew Lock everywhere just because that's kind of the feeling I was getting from this situation anyway. Any other final takes from these?
My thing would be I think Malik Neighbors is safe no matter what if Daniel Jones starts him. You draft him as your wide receiver 2 and 5 receptions, 50 yards. I think it'll increase a little bit. Amari Cooper, I'm not sure. Are you going to start him next week?
You might have to, but I'd be looking at pivot options at this point.
Okay.
It's rough out there for for the Browns players. But Njoku going down, maybe that plays in Amari Cooper's favor just a little bit more, just a few more targets. Maybe. I don't know. Speaking of tight ends, we got to go to that tight end wasteland. It was gross out there. I'm sitting over here talking up Taysom Hill, and the 2 other tight ends on the freaking team ended up in the top 6. What in the world? Foster Moreau pulls in a touchdown, and Juwan Johnson's picking them up left and right. What in the world is going on with the tight ends?
I think it was Isaiah Likely finishes tight end 1, Foster Moreau 2,
4 and above.
and then I think Kyle Pitts was 3, right? I think it's how the
Yeah.
tight end room ended this week. Yeah, and then everybody else was just like single digits. So like everyone who panicked over Mark Andrews, and are you now panicking over Dalton Kincaid? Are you panicking over Trey McBride? I just think it's a week 1 jitters. It's what I'm going with, but like I think it was crazy because like all of us, including here, like I really wanted a top 5 tight end this year. I was really banging on that table just like everybody else was, and it bit you in the butt. And everyone who punted on the position probably even did better than what they had for the top 5. So
Yeah, I will say when you say the week 1 freak out, if you looked at the week 1 finishers last year, the tight end position, you wouldn't recognize any of them because it was a bunch of randos. But I think that's the important thing I'm taking away from this is, yeah, I stood on the table as well and said, hey, I want a big tight end this year. I never do it. I never take a tight end early in, but I'm like, you know what? This year it looks great. There's a discount here in a bit, and God, it fell down on me. It's gross. Are we chasing Isaiah Likely here in waiver wires? I know we got the waiver show tomorrow, but
yeah,
where's your meter?
I think like
movement?
you should. I think you should definitely have some fab bid, but don't overdo it. Like there's no one. I think we'll talk about it in next week's episode, but I'll just give a little hint. I don't think there's anybody worth like blowing 50% of your fab over. Like not one player. It's usually week 1 running back gets injured, and usually you want to bid high, but there's nothing like that this week. It's actually kind of pickings, so we'll see how that goes on Tuesday.
Yeah, we got Sam Laporta down here, 4 catches, 45 yards. Trey McBride, 5 catches, 30 yards. Dallas Goedert, 4 catches, 31 yards. Pat Freiermuth, 4 catches, 20. Like, this is just...
It's gross.
It's bad. What's your takeaway from the Giants tight end room? Tucker Kraft came in there and crushed it compared to Musgrave.
The Packers? I thought you said Giants there for a second. I was getting a little confused.
I mean, Packers.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, with Love being injured, we're gonna kind of have to wait and see a couple weeks to see, because if they really roll out Malik Willis out there, I am not starting a single Packer next week. That's a no go for me.
I'm right there with you. Jaden Reed would be just flexible, possibly just because he can catch it. He's got that yard of the catch ability.
Yeah,
but
a lot of jet sweeps.
I'm right there with
they
you.
run with him. Yeah, I'm out.
But yeah, Tucker Kraft ran 30 routes compared to Musgrave's 8. Big shocker there.
That is a little bit of a shocker. I do agree with that one.
And there's Kelsey up there, just not scoring for us. Damn it, Kelsey.
No.
All right, next one we have. Who is it? Detained and dominant. Yes, we're going down to Miami. Dude, wildest start to week 1. Like, I'm sitting there trying to make sure my red zone's downloaded, my TVs are all hooked up and everything, and all I see is popping up here is Tyreek Hill's arrested and down on the ground. Like, what in the world?
Dude, that was crazy. I had to like panic for a second. Like, do I really have to pull out Tyreek Hill in my lineup right now? And then like immediately as I'm like contemplating that, I get the notification from Schefter saying he's going to play and everything's good to go. And then of course he just has an 80-yard bomb touchdown, and everything's all as well.
Which scared me. Up until that point, that 80-yard touchdown catch, he wasn't doing great. I think it was like 29 yards up until that. Finished off the day pretty well, but wow, this game had so much going on to it. I guess finishing off on the Dolphins side, Jalen Waddle left the game for a brief stint of time. You thought, oh my God, we're back in 2023. But he eclipsed 100 yards, so it's not a bad day. 5 catches, 5 targets, 109 yards.
I literally texted in my group chat, said death, taxes, and Jalen Waddle in the medical tent. Like, it's just like, I think you're just going to be seeing this week in, week out. But another name I want to mention, man, like, if you were in on him, man, you're really happy now. Devon Achane, 7 targets, 7 receptions, I think a little over, like right under 80 yards, had the rushing touchdown. Like, this is the target volume we're going to see from him. You lucked out. He was RB3 on the week so far, so.
Absolutely beautiful seeing what he was doing with the ball. Crushed it. I want to go to the other side of the ball. You kind of brought up Brian Thomas Jr. a little bit more and more each week. We saw quite the performance. Jalen Ramsey just up and fouled the crap out of him. He knew he got beat. He knew he lost. BTJ would have had the touchdown there at the end zone. Him and Gabe Davis outsnapped Christian Kirk. Alarms are going off a little bit.
They did say that, like, if it became down to 2 wide receiver sets, that he'd be the odd man out. So, like, I mean, this was kind of like the telling tale. Like, I mean, they said this from beat writers in Jacksonville. Like, so they did say this, but like, we just assumed that, like, him and Trevor Lawrence had the repertoire that it wouldn't really matter because, but I don't know, man. Like if we see it again week 2 and he's still getting out snapped, and I would the panic meter would definitely go up on him. But it's week 1. I don't want to overreact.
100%. But I am taking note of this is exactly what we heard, so it's following suit. Let's talk about the running backs a little bit. ETN, the coaches talked about bringing in Bigsby, the second player, and they split touches 12 each. Bigsby did stuff with it. ETN did not.
He did do stuff with it. It was pretty impressive. And then ETN, he had a touchdown, and he had almost had a second one, but he got punched out at the end there. I still think
one.
Yeah, I know. I still think ETN's gonna be the goal line back. It seems like he has more of the knack for that in that area. So I think he's still gonna be safe in that aspect. But if it comes down to them split, I don't think it'll split next week. But I still think it's something to monitor. Tank Bigsby might be a waiver wire pickup.
Yeah, ETN 17 routes to Tank Bigsby's 4. So if they do split it up, this would make sense for Bigsby to be more of the bruiser. But
yeah.
Wow. Tank Bigsby, where'd it come from, buddy? Where'd it come from?
I know.
So proud. Oh, man. All right, next one we have rookies that disappointed because we had a good amount of them, but none more than the winning quarterback, Caleb Williams. Didn't even break 100 yards, dude.
I know.
Like, this is the Bears that I know. Like, the 2000s Bears when the defense was dope and Rex Grossman was out there. Not to compare the two, but that's kind of what we were looking at here. Like, wow.
He thought he could, do what he did in college, translate in the NFL, and now he realizes, oh, these guys are faster. Oh, these guys are a lot stronger. Like I remember I watched one play where they were like, I think it was like the 15-yard line. And he spun back 3 times and took a major sack. Like it's just that's not going to happen anymore. He's gonna have to learn really quickly and adapt. Like when you see pressure, if you get away from one, you got to throw it or throw it away. Like this is going to be really interesting. I know Keenan Allen dropped a touchdown in the end zone. I don't know. He did not look good though, and I will say it's week 1 jitters because like there's another couple rookie quarterbacks that looked awful too. Another one I want to talk about is Bo Nix. I know he went to Seattle. I know it was a rough environment, but like I watched him play a good amount of snaps after that, and like he has no zip on the ball. He needs to learn when to throw it hard and when to actually get finesse. But it was bad.
It was bad. I don't want to throw it out completely because I had hope in some of these pieces, mainly just the running backs and Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin. But wow, if we're going to get that kind of performance, we're going to see Zach Wilson sooner than later.
Yeah, I don't know. It's looking rough out there. And another name that was, I think, drafted super highly that probably made you lose this week, Marvin Harrison Jr. Was it 1 catch for 4 yards, I think is what I saw?
Sure was.
I saw that he had the wide open touchdown to win the game, which might have maybe saved your week, but like Greg Dortch had more targets than Marvin Harrison Jr. and I haven't looked deep dive into the game to see if Marvin was lacking in the route running or anything else like that.
He led in route running despite only having 9.4% target share.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see positive regression next week. I think Marvin obviously gets more involved, but Greg Dortch was obviously
Dortch.
Yeah,
oh
dude.
Man,
I know that's so crazy. But I mean, so
Michael
we'll see
Wilson
how that
with
goes.
the touchdown too. Ooh,
I know it's crazy.
This was a fun game, except for Trey McBride. So pumped for him playing against this Bills defense and fell short. Not a lot of rookie disappointments. Rome Odunze, we are evidently checking out for a knee injury and getting an MRI today. That's not good, especially because Keenan Allen looked a little hampered. If he's going to miss time or going to be slowed down, Odunze would have been the next guy up. But
Yeah.
Ruh-roh Raggy. It's not good.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, let's go to this next one. Beats timer. Damn, look at that. Next up, yes, it's the running backs. It's the backfield truths. We had some of these ambiguous backfields that we had questions about. And Brendan, we did pretty damn good. Tajay Spears, I'm still going to wait on a few weeks. It's going to take a little bit for that one to build up because Pollard definitely took over there. But Moss was clear over Brown, and then Najee over Pollard. Over Warren. Both these guys had 11% exposure between the other two. Not great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little more surprised at the Pollard Spears won because like the head coach was like banging on the table like it's going to be 50-50. It wasn't 50-50. It wasn't even close to 50-50. It was Tony Pollard and then Tajay Spears got a little bit of work in the passing game, but like the only one that that I'm still not, I guess, sold on is the Steelers because like Najee, I think he had like how many attempts? He only had 70 yards. It wasn't like that great of a game.
Yeah, that game was ugly. There was one touchdown to Kyle Pitts, and the rest were field goals. Like the Steelers won with 6 field goals. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's literally how the Steelers win their games nowadays. I think the Cincinnati one's a lot more telling. I think a lot of the Chase Brown believers are now kind of a little bit in doubt. I mean, granted, the Bengals just look bad, and they probably cost everybody so much money on the eliminators, parlays, everything. So everyone's a big Joe Burrow hater this week, if I had to guess.
Oh yeah. Yeah, not a fan. I mean, or should we be mad at Jamar Chase? He came back and just didn't do anything. Like, what the hell, man?
Hey, Christian Gonzalez had him in lockdown, I guess, all game.
Dude, Patriots coming out of nowhere. Over-under was, I think, 3.5, 4.5 most places on the season.
Yeah.
Check. We got one.
Yeah, seriously. But anything else out of this backfield? Like, I'm trying to think of other ones, too. Like, another name to notice is, like, Zamir White was outsnapped by Alexander Madison. That was... I watched a bit of that game too, and like Zamir White just like he just I think runs straight into everyone's back as an offensive lineman. Like there's no like one cut ability, and Alexander Madison's not good. I think the only thing that kept him I think a little more outsnapped is that he's a better pass catcher. So we'll see what happens in week 2. The Chargers, that's definitely I definitely watch Michigan football play the Las Vegas Raiders because like good defense, run the ball as much as you can, throw very little. That's how the Chargers won.
Yeah, Zamir White comes in with the second lowest success rate on the week at 15.4%. Just not great, and that offensive line's mediocre at best, so he's not going to be getting a lot of favors from that team. Glad I'm not invested. Brock Bowers ended up leading that team in targets, by the way. Fun little fact we didn't bring up in the rookies.
No, we didn't, but that's also a little concerning, too, for Devontae Adams.
No kidding. Glad we were out on that one, too.
Yeah,
not something I wanted to mess with. But Moss getting 75% of the rush share, and he ran 4 more routes than Chase Brown. I think until an injury pops his way, I think he will be the guy, and pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
All right, the sad part. Nobody wants to talk about it, but there's injuries. If anything, that just opens up the waiver wire, though. So silver lining. Jordan Love, probably the most glaring one.
Yeah, that was like I thought for sure all the Twitter videos of like his knee just like popping, everything else like that. I was like, oh, that's unfortunately season ending. Luckily, it isn't. Sounds like he'll miss anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks at the most. If they are starting Malik Willis, like we just said, I want nothing to do with the Packers offense. I'm sorry, I'm nothing against the Packers as a team, but Malik Willis is very bad at football.
Yes. We looked at science data, and scientists came back and said, yes, that is correct. He is not good. I'm not afraid of the Packers long term. If I've got to sit him for a couple weeks, that's kind of where you drafted him anyway. So they were kind of in flex consideration, and so that's kind of how I'm approaching it. Christian Watson came away with a touchdown. Jaden Reed just blew up. So if you want to flex him, even with Malik Willis, I'm not going to blame you for it. But I think we're all erring on the side of caution for probably about 2 weeks. Patrick Mahomes had a similar injury to this that year that he got hurt doing the QB sneak, and he was only out 2 weeks, I believe. So Jordan Love, I see him coming back soon. David Njoku and Jake Ferguson, a couple of guys that ankle sprain for David Njoku and Ferguson. I think that's what we're looking at, maybe a knee injury.
It's a high ankle sprain, yeah. So David Njoku's already been is considered week to week, but like. He was getting peppered pretty healthy by Deshaun Watson, so like, I mean, that's kind of unfortunate. Jake Ferguson, I mean, the game was kind of weird already as it was. I think he only had like 3 catches for like 18 yards, but like Dallas defense was and their special teams were the reason why they were winning that game. The offense really didn't have to do a whole lot to win that game, so it's kind of unfortunate. Out of the two, their backups and not really looking at as like immediate replacements for either or. Another thing we haven't mentioned though is Puka Nacua. He injured the same knee, and it sounds like he's gonna miss some time. So, I mean, dude, Cooper Kupp to the freaking moon, man.
He is currently leading the NFL in target percentage right now at like 42%. Unreal game.
21 targets,
14 catches. Yes, you heard that right. One game.
Yeah. Oh my
Wow.
god.
I imagine we're going to be talking about him here in just a few minutes when we talk about some draft day steals.
Yeah, another injury. It's I guess noted as Kenneth Walker. He injured his abdomen, which I guess is a re-injury. So they said that like it's a high risk for that one.
He did have the hernia surgery last year, so
Yeah, so I mean Zach Charbonnet is probably owned. So like I doubt he'll be, but it's someone you want to mention and monitor. And then I'm trying to think of another injury that was like kind of really devastating. Like a lot of guys came out of the game banged up, but we'll just like kind of monitor the I would say Thursday injury report, not Wednesday.
we talked about the disappointing rookies. Let's talk about the good ones, the young guns, the big runs. There were several. Xavier Worthy, of course, on Thursday night opened up the NFL with 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 receiving. You can't help but just look at him filling into what has been missed in that Tyreek Hill role, just that faster than fast. I mean, he's in your lineup now, no questions asked until he's out, or are you still looking at the matchups?
I mean, he's definitely if you're debating between somebody and him, like I think you're leaning towards him just because like the explosive plays is crazy. Like, you mean, I granted like his 1 touchdown was just a broken coverage, but the other one was just pure talent, and he just it was a good play that was designed for him, which means they're going to continue to design plays for him. So like and he's attached to Patrick Mahomes, so like you just need that 1 breakaway touchdown, just like what happened, and he's worth starting. So yeah, you are definitely considered Xavier Worthy.
Xavier Worthy or Amari Cooper?
Oh, Xavier Worthy. If Deshaun Watson's starting, I really I'm scared.
Yeah, I thought that one was already popping in my head is like that's a consideration right there.
Yeah.
Brian Thomas Jr., we touched on him a little bit. He looks great. There were concerns that he was touchdown heavy in LSU. That's fine. He can come be touchdown heavy in the NFL.
Yeah.
We've seen it work for many players.
Yeah, Brian Thomas is definitely going to be in your starting lineup from here on out. I mean, he already looks like Trevor Lawrence's go-to guy on a read. So, yeah, all of you that took him as your flex or your wide receiver 3, you're very, very happy right now.
McMillan, the rookie for Tampa Bay, scored a touchdown. Missed his first one, but ended up scoring one. So a little noteworthy. So we're going to bring him up. But the guy I really want to talk about is Ladd McConkey there for the Chargers. Josh Palmer ends up getting ejected from this game for fighting. He's not going to miss any time. But Ladd McConkey scores a touchdown. Looks great as a kind of that Keenan Allen-esque role for Justin Herbert. I'm pretty excited to see what this kid's going to do this season.
I unfortunately have a bet against him that he won't get 100 receptions against some fellow Chargers fans that I'm friends with. So like, I think I'm going to win that bet. I think he'll get a high end of 80s, but which is great because you took him as your late flex, maybe early bench spot. But yeah, I mean he looked like the better option out of the 3 so far. Quentin Johnston did Quentin Johnston things like dropping catches that were wide open. So I would safely say you can drop him now.
Oh, QJ, goodbye.
Yeah.
But we got to make room for waiver picks. Got to get rid of them.
Yes.
We're going to beat the buzzer on this one, aren't we? Yeah, we are. Because we have to talk about the draft day steals. There were so many that I feel like we can officially call uncovered right now. A couple of these guys I really want to wait and see. But Cooper Kupp to start off. This guy, let's go back to it. 14 catches, 21 targets. This is unreal. Matt Stafford now has his boy and his boy only. I did like Demarcus Robinson's involvement. And who was the other
Tyler
receiver?
Johnson.
There you go.
Yeah.
He had some good opportunities as well. So I think we're going to see an uptick in targets for them, just the distribution that we would have seen go to Nakua, but not enough that I'm like screaming going to the waiver wire over them.
Yeah, I definitely like Tyler Johnson, I guess, more than Marcus Robinson in that order. But like, dude, Cooper Kupp. As soon as I saw Puka go down, I said, "Oh my god, Cooper Kupp is just gonna eat." And I just told Brian before we recorded that I was up by 30 with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and the dude had Jahmyr Gibbs and Cooper Kupp, and I 100% lost because of Cooper Kupp for sure, but also Amon-Ra having a dud. But yeah, Cooper Kupp's here to stay, and I think he'll be the steal, and he has a chance to finish as wide receiver 1.
God, could you imagine all the people saying he was too old, that he couldn't do it at this age? Wow.
Crazy.
What a year he's having. Let's talk about J.K. Dobbins, because that was incredible. I have been rooting for him since his first year in Baltimore. He continued to get hurt, and it's crushed my soul, and I had to let him go. I had to let him go this summer. I've minimally invested just because it hurt me, but oh my gosh, when I saw him bust off that first big run, it's magic. Absolutely magic.
Yeah, man, I thought Gus Edwards would for sure be kind of like leading this team, and he kind of be the change of pace back, but it was a 50-50 split, so we're going to look out for next week. They face Carolina without their best defensive player. I think Derek Brown might be done for the year, so yeah, it's going to be a rough year for Carolina, and so it'll be very interesting to see what JK does next week.
Is he right now looking to be like probably the top waiver pickup for you?
Yeah, if J.K. Dobbins is, yeah, for sure, because he's definitely someone I would own.
I mean, hey, I'm looking at some of these leagues, and there are people that are afraid to touch him, so I'm hoping I can pick him up in most of my leagues if he's not already.
Yeah.
Next guy I want to talk about is, wow. So you just talked about the dud that Amon-Ra put up. Jameson Williams was the beneficiary of that. Had an incredible game. Finally, the breakout game that you'd want to see to start that season. Was this just, as you said, like them bracketing and shutting down Amon-Ra, or do you think this is something we can see consistently?
I think it's a bit of both. I think Jameson will now be more involved. Obviously, he's got amazing speed, so they're definitely going to utilize that. But yeah, I think it was just kind of like the Isaiah Likely Mark Andrews situation. You know, the Rams definitely try to limit, Amon-Ra beating them, and which let Jameson Williams be wide open on a lot of one-on-ones. So I think, it's a bit of both. I think he's definitely worth being picked up because they're now going to try to utilize him more, but it's also, I would just kind of wait to see what week 2 looks like for both Isaiah Likely and Jameson Williams.
No other wide receiver received a target outside of Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown, but 1 carry, 13 yards, 5 receptions on 9 targets, and 120 yards in a touchdown. Awesome.
Must be nice. I thought you said Amon-Ra stat there for a second, but it wasn't.
No, he was 3 for 6 and 13 yards. He scored below 11 PPR points once last year. He scored 2.8 in this league that I've got in front of me.
Super fun.
Gross.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Really fun.
It's time to get out of here. We got to roll. For everybody at home, thanks for listening. We appreciate you giving us the listen, the subscribe, the like at Too Much Fantasy Football here on the Fantasy Football Network. Brendan, tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me on X at FFAMBMulk, and then I'm also on the Facebook group page of Fantasy Football Advice Network.
Ooh, me too. You can find me there, and then also on the old Bird app, I am at @too_much_Brian. Make sure you hang out with us tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. My time and his time. That's when we will be going live on Walking the Wire. It's our waiver wire show. We have so much fun answering all those questions, all the laughs. We were having to charge like $300 a ticket, I think it was, to watch coming to the live stream. It's free tomorrow. Free for everybody, so don't miss it. Until then, we'll see y'all later.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com